Hello and welcome back to the Bronuts.
This time we've got something a bit different for you. We're going to show you how to change the exhaust on an Abarth 595.
Today we've got something slightly different for you, and that is the Abarth 595.
Yeah, this is the Bronut mobile, something Gert and I got to have some fun in. And although it's quite different to the Ferrari 360, they're both Italian and somewhat sporty.
This one actually runs though. Yeah, so we've had this car for around a year. It's the 145 bhp T-Jet model, which, although it's quite fun to drive, we've been slightly let down by the exhaust noise. So what we're planning to do is put an aftermarket exhaust on there, show you what that sounds like, do a comparison, and give you an idea on how to fit it as well.
And before we get onto that and show you what this car sounds like stock, you're probably wondering, do those two big guys even fit in this tiny car? Well, the answer is yes.
Just about.
So we're going to change the exhaust now and we're going to time it. So you ready, Gert?
Yeah, don't expect any F1 changes because I think this might take a little bit longer than that. But I've got my 14mm socket and I've got this wrench as well, which I'm going to use to take the exhaust off the mount. So don't start the timer just yet. Let me get underneath.
Okay, well I'll give you a countdown. 5, 4,
Ready? 3,
2, 1, go.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is this exhaust clamp that you can see here. It has 14mm bolts. I'm just going to loosen those off, give it some slack and get it out of the way. And then the next thing that needs to happen is that the exhaust is held up with these rubber mounts. So you can see there's a pin there that goes through that mount. There's one on the left hand side of the car and there's two on the right hand side of the car. So the easiest way I've found to get these out is to use a wrench to basically put one end on the end and one end on the rubber and squeeze so that it comes through. If you need to, you can use some WD-40 to loosen it off as well. So I'm just going to do that now.
So as you can see, the car's currently up on these ramps. That's purely because we read on the forums that it's really easy to damage the sills because there's so much body kit on the Abarths. So if you use a jack, you might just crumple some of it. So using a ramp or a lift, but we don't have one of those, can really save that damage. So Gert's currently undoing those two bolts for the exhaust clamp. Once that's off, he can then make a stab on those three rubber exhaust hangers. With those, we've just got like a pair of essentially pliers, and we're just going to pull those rubbers off. It's as straightforward as that. So as you can see, this is the new exhaust. You might be able to tell there's 1, 2, 3 points. That's what those rubber hangers attach to.
Okay, so one of them is now loose. I'm just trying to get the other two, and then also just try and unplug the exhaust from the car. So if you can see here, what I've done is I've got one of the exhaust hangers out, and that's the back right one, and what that's allowed me to do is shift the whole exhaust back slightly so that I can unplug these two parts. Now you can see it's moving a lot more freely, so that should now give me the wiggle room to get everything else disconnected.
At this point you might be wondering, well, H-Jam, what are you doing? Obviously this is quite a small car and we're quite big people. There's no way both of us would fit under there at the same time.
We barely fit inside the car, let alone underneath it. Really have to wrestle with these. I don't know where I put my... There they are. So how's the timer, H-Jam?
We're currently on just over 7 minutes.
Oh wow, well I've got two of the mounts out. The last one's a bit fiddly and it just means you've got to move the exhaust back and forward slightly.
To the rescue.
Yeah, it's a little bit sticky, so what this should do is just allow me to wiggle the last mount off. Okay.
So as you can see, this is the new exhaust, and you can see it's quite simple. It's basically this one exhaust pipe that splits into two. The old Abarth exhaust, this is all filled in, and that means there's a lot less wiggle room to be able to get those exhaust hangers off. So it's also worth mentioning, if you're going to use a ramp on your car, or even if you're going to jack up just one side, always remember to chock the front wheels. This way the car can't just randomly start rolling forwards whilst you're underneath it.
So this side is now completely off. I'm just trying to get this last hanger on this side at the front. But the way I found easiest is if you take this back one off, then the back one over here, and then make sure everything's unclipped from the front, and then try and get the front one off. The problem is you don't have a huge amount of space with this cat under here, so you just have to kind of put your hands up in the tiny gaps, or try and get your pliers up there as well.
Oh, so here we go.
Okay, so those mounts are all off, and this is the stock exhaust. As you can see, it's quite a lot more substantial than the replacement, and that's because we got this massive restrictive cat, and that's one of the reasons why they don't sound so great or sound slightly muffled, just because the air has to go through all of this. You can see one of the hangers, it was actually easier to take it off from the body than off of the exhaust, so we'll take that off and put it back on as well. So how long was that?
12 minutes 57.17 seconds.
Okay, so as you can see, pretty straightforward to get this one out. Hopefully it's a lot quicker to get the other one in. Okay, so you can see the hanger mounts on these are actually facing the other way, so they're slightly different, but they will go up into the same rubber mounts as before. So what we'll do is we'll get this new exhaust on. Hopefully, because it's obviously a lot smaller, we'll be able to show you how it goes on, so there's a lot more space and we'll be able to show you things.
So now it's time for the new exhaust to go in, and then afterwards we can see what it sounds like. Here you go.
Hang on a sec.
As you can see, the exhaust's quite light. It's not very much to it.
Yeah, so this stainless steel exhaust is a lot lighter, a lot easier to manoeuvre, and hopefully it should take a lot less than 15 minutes to install.
So as you're starting, I'm going to start my timer once again.
Okay, so one of the mounts is in. The second mount is almost in, but what I'm going to do is just level the whole thing out, connect the two pipes, and hopefully be able to get this one in. So if you look up here, you can see there is a slight notch where the new exhaust meets the old exhaust, and basically you want to push it until it's right up to there so that the clamp fits on nicely like that.
It might be a good idea to use some lubricant when you do this, however do be careful and make sure whatever you use doesn't degrade rubber.
What I'm doing now, I've got everything hooked in. I'm just making sure that it looks like it's in the right place. I think this side could actually come back slightly. Something like that. And now that it looks okay, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten up that clamp. Last one, you can see these rubber mounts a lot easier. That's the one on the left hand side of the car. And over here, there's one here, one there. And then if we come back, that's obviously the clamp that we've had to tighten up. And that is literally all there is to it. So now that that's on, you can see it's pretty secure. It's not touching anything, so that should be good to go. And I'm done. What was the time?
So that is 7 minutes 46 seconds.
Wow, okay. So all in all, it took just under half an hour. And I guess now we'll see if it was worth it.
So we hope you enjoyed this video, something a little bit different, where we show you how to change an exhaust on a Abarth 595. As you can see, it's hilariously funny, it pops and bangs all of the time, however as a daily driver it might be a little bit too much.
Luckily this is something that HChan and I just got to mess around with, so for us I think it's just right. And as you saw, it only took around 30 minutes to put that new exhaust on, so if it's something that you're thinking about, we'd definitely recommend it.
Whilst we're getting along with all the electronics in the Ferrari, we asked on Instagram, do you want to see some more non-Ferrari related stuff whilst we're getting stuck in with that? And pretty much everyone said yes. That's why we did today's video. And if you enjoyed this kind of content and want to see more, please let us know in the comments below and give us suggestions of what you'd like to see.
If you liked this video, or even if you didn't, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and share with all of your friends.
Hit that bell icon so you get a notification of our next upload, and we'll
see you in the next one.